Welcome to the Dig Endurance Podcast, where we are all about digging deep and discovering the power of emotional resilience. I'm Aaron, and I'm joined by my brother, Sean.
As endurance athletes and business owners, we have learned a thing or two about facing and overcoming adversity. We are here to share inspiring stories from our guests that will help you to find that inner strength when you feel like you are running on empty.
Are you ready? Let's dig in.
Welcome, everyone. Dig Endurance Podcast, another great episode. We have Christian Brown Johnson with us.
Yes,
he actually just did the Ironman World Championships in France. It was the first men's-only race in France. We're going to hear about it today. But Christian, tell us a little about yourself. Like, where are you from? Where were you raised? And you know, we'll lead into kind of where you're at today.
Yeah, so I was born in Merced, raised in Madeira, been there my whole life. And yeah, I mean, I really haven't gone anywhere else. I've
just been here the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much.
The Central Valley will do that. It'll suck you in.
Yeah.
The Fresno vacuum is what we like to call it.
Suck me back.
Yeah, Aaron tried to leave it. It sucked him right back in.
I love it, though. I
Yeah.
love the Central Valley. I mean, I say it sucked me back, but I was happy to come back.
Yeah.
It's a good area.
And I always tell people when I leave and they ask me where I'm from, I say California, and everyone expects LA or San Fran. I say, no, we're right in the middle, where you really don't know what's there, but I'm 2 hours from the beach and an hour from the mountains, so it's perfect.
But there's like tons of people here.
Yeah.
But it's not as popular of a place. It is weird. It is
Yeah.
a very weird thing. Okay, so born and raised here. You've been here your whole life.
Yep.
Obviously, you do tons of events, endurance events. Is that your focus? Always endurance?
Yeah.
Do you do anything shorter?
No, I started doing CrossFit when I was 19, and I was really addicted to that for years.
How old are you right now?
28.
28. Okay,
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, so from that, started doing Tough Mudders when I was 18 and just did those for fun. I just thought it was so cool, such a awesome event, awesome community, and my uncle actually did them with me for years, and we were just addicted to them. You know, we'd go and run them, and we became a part of this big community, and it was just a blast. So, yeah, from there, I just started jumping around, doing bigger and bigger events, and just getting really competitive and focusing on that. So that's
Tough Mudders are fun. I've done a few. They were really good when they first started, and then like the last one I did in Florida in 2016. They started changing it to where you basically like doubled the course, which became kind of lame, honestly. The first one I did was like in Nevada, and it was flipping amazing.
Yeah.
It was epic. And
Is that the one that had the shocking cords or no?
Yes.
Oh yeah, they'll shock the crap out of you.
I remember.
That was probably my least favorite part. But like, when they first built out the course as like a true, one time through massive 13-mile course or whatever, that was awesome. Then as I was doing them, they kind of started watering them down, and I needed my adrenaline elsewhere.
Yeah.
So but they are fun though. That's a fun experience.
Yeah, they're supposed to be going back to the traditional race distance this next year, because they went from a 10-mile down to, they switched it to like a 15K and a 5K, and then they even had a shorter one. So it was just a kind of a cluster out there, but they're going back to the OG 10-mile.
Yeah.
That's it. This is Tough Mudder. This is who we are.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I've done Tough Mudders, I've done Spartans. I would rate the Spartans as more physically challenging and like more organized and fulfilling than the Tough Mudders.
You've done
Yeah.
Spartans before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, they're great.
I wasn't sure.
They're fun. They integrate more of like the obstacle coursing, and I think more of the strength. I think Tough Mudder is more like kind of like the electric shock stuff. It's more like how
Come in and laugh and torture
yeah,
yourself.
almost like how torturous or a little more extreme can we be in certain ways, like, which is fine, but
Yeah.
I enjoy more of the physicality of it. But
Yeah,
they're
100%.
fun races. They're fun.
That sounds fun to do it with like a spouse or something.
Yeah, it is.
Watch them get shocked.
Spartan,
I
though,
thoroughly enjoy that.
Oh, yeah.
Spartan has like a full series where I think you can do like even up to marathon distance. You can do a Spartan, which I've never done, but like that sounds
Like a long day to
marathon's
me.
intense enough, let alone throwing in. I don't even know how many obstacles would be in a full marathon Spartan, but
So have you heard of World's Toughest Mudder?
no,
So that's a 24-hour version of Tough Mudder.
that sounds not.
I'm
fun.
good.
So I've done,
good.
I believe I've done 8 of them up to this point.
Oh my God.
Or this year, in November will be my 8th.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a 5-mile loop, and there's 20, they usually have 20 to 25 obstacles every lap. So you start at noon on Saturday, and you end at noon on Sunday, and you go as far as you can. And usually you end up in a wetsuit at night, depending on where they have it. because it's so cold, and every obstacle has water, so you're wet the whole time.
What kind of wetsuit? Like the ones we wear in an Ironman, or like a surfer?
It depends. They had it out in Georgia for was it two years?
Always like out rural range.
Yeah, and it was so cold. I mean, it was down in like the teens, I'd say. That I had a full like 3.5 wetsuit on with a windbreaker, everything. And I was getting hypothermia.
Yeah,
I mean, it was so
getting shocked. Yeah, super fun.
Yeah,
there's some things.
That sounds terrible.
I mean, listen,
I'm not.
It's a blast.
There's some things that I hear like that, and I'm just like, no.
Yeah. The Ironman distance is like that's dark enough. It's
Uh-huh.
plenty dark. I don't need cold water like creating hypothermia and stuff.
Oh,
Cramps are cool.
Yeah.
Blackouts are cool.
Yeah.
Cold have you done Indian Wells?
No.
Like that water's cold. I'm good with that. That's
Yeah.
it. That's enough torture for me. I'd rather just have my legs hurt the rest of the day and my head hurt. You know what I mean?
No, when you walk away from a world's toughest mudder, you're really not walking after that.
Okay, so tell us about that. So what was your best one?
In 2021, I did 100 miles. So I'd be right now.
24
There's
hours?
only 15 people in the world, or roughly around 15 people in the world that have ever done 100 miles or more at a world's toughest mudder. So they've been doing it for 10 years, and just unreal. There's like 2,000 people that show up to do this event, and you'll get people that are just normal people that just want to come challenge themselves. You'll get people out there that'll help on the obstacles, and you'll get like real athletes, a lot of Spartan athletes too, that show up and just try to dominate. So it's an awesome event.
Interesting.
Would you just like throw a tent out there, like your little support?
Yeah, so
tent,
they
you can
have
stop when you want.
They have a whole pit area, so that's between the start and finish. They have a section that you'll run through, and if you're on the elite list, you get a pit spot up front. So your pit crew can come out there, and you run by and grab what you need and just take off going.
Okay.
And to get 100 miles, you cannot stop. Like your pit times need to be 2 minutes or less.
Yeah,
so you're
100 miles,
constantly moving.
100 miles in an ultra marathon or an ultra trail race is in 24 hours is like it's fast. So I don't know.
Just like pound a sandwich in 2 minutes or what? Like just keep moving.
Lots of liquid rice with honey and peanut butter, oatmeal, stuff like that. And just you take some stuff with you. Like spring energies work really well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Wow.
I'm impressed. That's very impressive. Okay, so you're 18, 19, 20. You're starting to do some Tough Mudders.
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
So from there, like I was saying, my uncle did them with me.
Okay.
He ended up getting injured at one event. Then after that, his wife wasn't too happy with him. So
Was it a bad injury?
Yeah, he smacked his face on one of the obstacles and shoved his front teeth into his face and all that good stuff. So after that, he decided to take a step back, and then I kept doing them, and that's kind of when I got competitive. And they started doing 8-hour events overnight. And then they obviously still had the world's toughest mudder, which up to that point I had done a couple. My first few, I had only done 50 miles. I mean, that was like a goal of mine. Like, let's go out here and do 50 miles. As we were watching elite athletes do 100. I remember telling myself the first event I did, I was 20 when I did the first WTM, World's Toughest Mudder. And I watched a guy do 100 miles, Ryan Atkins. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's from Canada. He's just awesome OCR athlete and runner. And he did 100 miles. And I remember saying that I don't even know how that's possible. Like it doesn't make sense.
Like I said, without obstacles, that's fast.
Yeah.
Like top fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't. That's.
So then over
mind-boggling.
the years, as they released new endurance events, I started doing them and becoming more and more competitive. Started taking it seriously, and then finally in 2021, I hit my goal of 100. And actually before that, take a step back here a little bit. In 2019 is when I started doing Olympic triathlons.
Okay.
Just to kind of mix some things up. I did my first 100-mile ultra in Reedley in 2019.
In Reedley?
Yeah, the Silver Moon 100.
Oh, cool.
It's a 2-mile loop around a farm, just completely flat.
I've seen those. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You did 2 miles around a farm for 100 miles?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Let's throw stuff on that like on your
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was like, Reedley has 100K, and then you're like 2 miles around a farm. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That
Because
makes it
all there
even
is,
harder.
I'm pretty sure, like farms and stuff. Yeah.
I'm done.
I mean,
seeing
yeah, you
this
get
farm.
to lap 50. It's just.
See, if I'm doing something like that, I'm like running through like scenic Colorado
Yeah.
or like Yosemite. I need like I don't know. I can't have the same scenery like repeat for 50 miles or
mentally
50 laps. I can't do that. That's crazy. Good for you. I mean, wow.
Well, thank you. Yes, mentally it sucks. I seem to gravitate towards a lot of things that suck mentally.
That's the whole point of bringing you on today. Tell us about what sucks mentally and why you're doing it. That helps you. There you go. You just hit the nail on the head.
There was a quote I saw recently. It said something about struggle will fill a man's heart.
Absolutely.
And to me, like that quote really stood out because I've always wondered really deep down inside why I've always been attracted to these races and just going out there and destroying my body and the physical challenge. And I think it's that, like, I feel fulfilled when I finish these.
Yeah,
entirely.
I think it's like in a physical way. Sean and I have talked about this before. I mean, you definitely seek out more extreme outlets than what I do, but
he's got easily.
But to me, it's like last year I hit a good PR for me for the my best ever in a half marathon, which feels great. But like you give it a week, and after like feeling great, you're just like, I got to do it somewhere else. Like that's like it's an itch. You got to scratch it, and it is good. It's like I feel like if I'm not chasing that somehow in some physical outlet, typically running of some kind, and maybe even triathlon. I don't know. It's just like the process of pushing yourself to try to do something you haven't done.
Yeah.
It is. The struggle is good. It's something. It's like it's the chase, I guess.
Yeah. Always chasing something.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you finished, you had that high, and then you asked yourself, "What's next?"
Yeah.
I feel like that always happens.
After an Ironman, that's for me. I'm like, I feel good for about a day or two. Everyone jokes about it. It's such a cliche thing. And then you're just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
I need another journey now. Like, what am I going to do? Like, work's fun, but no.
And then it's not even,
life's fun, but no.
Yeah, you need something.
It's also like when I feel like I hit my time or I hit my goal, and then Sean sometimes gets upset with me for doing this, but like, then I see the other people's times. Like you feel pretty good
all the time.
Yeah, you're like,
time.
oh yes, I broke one, hour 30, and I'm pretty good now. And then you see other times, and you're like, oh, yeah, okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna go for an hour 25 now, because there's always someone that's faster. Maybe not in your case, but in my case, there's always someone that's faster. Yeah, definitely not in your case. Yeah. But that adds to it for me too. It's like, okay, crap. If they can, and then the other like humbling thing is almost always they're older than me. Like I'm 37 now, and so like I'll inevitably there's like a good handful of like 43-year-olds that
like
are
the
like
Ted Albertsons, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're like running sub 6:20, and I'm just like, oh crap. Like, okay, I can do better. I can do more. Anyway.
Yeah, it's always a chase.
That stuff
drives
is a good
me.
thing. Yeah, it drives me.
Okay, so where were we at?
He finished. So he did the Tough Mudder event. Started with that. Then he ran. No. Hold on. He ran 100 miles around a barn.
Around a barn.
So he's doing these events, and then we're trying to figure out how you.
I've been my own therapist this whole time. It's rough.
We're trying to figure out how you arrived at. I don't know, triathlon or other races. That what was your journey to getting doing more?
So I don't really know why I got into triathlons. I remember I bought a road bike, just a simple road bike in 2019. I remember 3 months after I bought that, I signed up for the Climb to Kaiser and did the Climb to Kaiser and finished it.
Oh,
crappy time. But
what year?
In 19.
So you only started a few years ago. You're pretty fresh going on it.
Yeah, for triathlons. And my first one was Climb to Kaiser.
You know what Climb to Kaiser is?
I do, yeah.
It's like 160 miles, 15,000. I did it with Lundy. It took us I don't even know how we did it, to be quite frankly. I don't.
There's another one you have to do in Colorado that levels with that one. It's called the Triple Bypass.
I think I've heard of that.
It takes you through like Evergreen. It takes you through like Evergreen and Avon, and there's one other Vail.
Yeah.
And the like max the peak at each point. So that's Triple Bypass because it's like there's 3 different. Yeah. And each one is like almost 15,000 feet of elevation at each point. And it's over 120 miles.
That's awesome.
So I haven't done Climb to Kaiser, but I did that one, and that took me all day.
Yeah.
My time also wasn't great, but it's beautiful, but it's flipping.
Most people
hard.
don't go for times and like Kaiser. And
no, everyone's like stopping at every peak and like lifting
pasta.
their bike.
Yeah.
For sure.
I was just trying to survive.
That's a tough ride, though.
That's still impressive.
So you bought the bike and you like registered for it like 2 weeks
right after. I think I had done. I think That's I had. Said, well, I bought my bike and literally 3 months later I did the climb to Kaiser. But I think before that I did my first Olympic tri, which was Bass Lake, and then after that, after climb to Kaiser, I just started doing some local tries, just to mix in with obstacle course racing and running.
Yeah.
If this is not proof that any type of cross activity crosses over into other activities, I don't know what is. Yeah. People just do not realize how much any sort of hybrid anything crosses into anything. Like you can pretty much not lose. He's a big example of this as well. Coming off an injury, I did all these bike workouts for him. He was just like, "Is this gonna work?" I'm like, "Trust me."
I'm doing way more bike training than I ever have for like a marathon regimen, and I was very concerned about that because I just wasn't sure if. I know that from a cardio standpoint, obviously, that makes sense to me. I was concerned about like feet on the ground, like actual miles,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, to Sean's credit, the plans, he integrates a good bit of probably at least 2 days a week where it's like a legit, spin or a, what do you call it? What's the workouts with like
everything? There's overgearing
workouts,
just anything.
So far I've been able to, track pretty well, but I also not only. So I went from kind of like questioning the hybrid approach or the cross training to like honestly I prefer it.
Yeah.
Because it gives my body like a break. Like this morning, I had
impact.
I had an overgear workout for an hour and 8 minutes, and you still get the the push and the burn, it almost like is recovery for your legs on those days in a way. I mean, I'm sure I'm not teaching you anything. I'm saying for me, it's just been a good realization for realizing that there's that approach too. And I've actually come to, I actually want to stick to that. Honestly, it's been nice. So anyway, I think that's what you're getting at.
It's definitely a good approach.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing the past couple of years. I got on with NVDM coaching 2 years ago with Natasha Vandermeer.
Yeah. That's Nick Bear. Isn't that Nick Bear?
Yeah. So that's how I found her. Nick Bear's video, and I reached out to her. She had just started NVDM, and we had a talk and jumped on with her, and I've been with her ever since. So she's definitely helped guide me through.
She did Nick Bear's triathlon. She coached him for this.
He was doing like all the Ironman stuff. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I follow Nick Bear a lot.
Yeah.
I like Nick Bear.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, he is.
That guy just jumps around. I'm going to do a bodybuilding show, and I'm going to run a sub 245.
Yeah, he's working on a marathon right now, I think. Right?
Yeah.
He's like,
I'm just going to run back into the marathon again because he wasn't doing. He was bodybuilding. 6 months ago. I don't even know. I can't even keep up. I see him every here and there, and I'm like, okay, bodybuilding. Ironman, but, I mean, no different than you, really.
For a guy with that much muscle mass, though, to move the way he moves is impressive.
It's beyond impressive.
Yeah.
I don't even have an explanation for that.
No, me either.
It's an anomaly.
Yeah.
So she coaches you now?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
She's been fantastic. We talk on the phone all the time. And
all of our athletes have great results.
Yeah.
You see them everywhere.
Yeah.
Arizona, I always see them in Arizona.
So when did you reach out to her, like for your first real?
It was about a little over 2 years ago, and I just said, "Hey, I want you to train me for an Ironman races, and I also do these 24-hour runs and ultras and stuff." And she said, "Okay, well let's see what we can figure out." And she's not much of a strict or specific running coach, but she's got a lot of other good coaches in the group that help her out with that kind of stuff. But as far as when it comes to Ironman, for leading up to Texas this year, she put me on a 4-month training block, and then after that, another 4-month training block for Worlds.
So what were you hitting for hours on in the last 4 to 5 weeks of your block?
20-hour weeks.
Perfect.
Around there, just a struggle.
Life right there.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Part-time job.
Yeah, no, seriously. To me, it felt like a full-time job. I run an ag services business and do real estate, so for me, it's just long days, lots of work, lots of jumping around, and I always hit a point.
Do you have kids yet?
No.
Okay.
No.
That'll come at some point.
Yeah, I'm engaged. I'm getting married next year.
Okay.
But no
It's
kids.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I respect it, but then the wrinkle will come. See, we've got about 10 years on you. Yeah. So then the wrinkle comes when you add no, I'm not saying it disrespectfully. I'm just saying that it changes when you throw a couple little bodies in the mix that you're trying to raise and go to all their events, and you've got work, and you've got, your 20-hour regimen you're trying to maintain, and basically he's better at it than me. If you're not up by 3:30 in the morning, good luck, because after that it's too much. There's too much going on.
My wife knows not to question. Like, it's my Saturday, not yours.
I'm gonna go ride for 7 hours, so
she knows too. If I'm like, I can have a 6-hour ride and an hour run, she's like, you're leaving at 6, so let's see, 6 was 7 hours, so that takes you always an extra 5, so we'll be back at like 6 tonight. Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's what it takes, though.
Because we always thought, it just takes longer. I don't know how to explain. It just does.
So what's next? If you just finished at France, went well?
Yeah, it went well. Yeah? It was an incredible experience.
Oh, cool.
So going into it, I didn't really have any major goals. It was just, to me,
that's the best way
I'm in
to
France
do
doing a full Ironman.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is last year, towards the end of last year, I bought my first TT bike, and the guy I bought it from, I don't even know who he is, but he had gone to Kona with this bike and stuff like that. So I told my coach, hey, this bike's been to Worlds. She said, well, we're going to get you there. So a year later, here I am going to France with this bike, and just it's super surreal.
That's awesome.
But a big goal that I had for that race was to run a sub-3, which I had prepped for. I'm, like I said, I'm more of a runner, so I always shine at the run. But it was a struggle. That's I
act like climbing 8,000 or 9,000 feet on the bike is a big deal before.
Yeah,
it was it more than that? I don't even know what it was.
It was 8,000 feet. So the swim that
you were trying to clear the 3-hour run within the full is what you're saying.
Yeah. So in Texas,
for a bike ride with over 8,000 feet of climbing.
I'm just trying to clear 305 in the 2 cities next month, bro. So good for you.
You got it, man. So in Texas, I ran, I think it was a 3:10 in Texas. So that's where I made up all my time, because I suck at swimming. My bike at that time was
that's a slow swim at Texas, in my opinion. But.
Yeah, I mean, I swam like a 129. Horrible, just horrendous. My bike wasn't that great, but my run was awesome.
129, I'm guessing, is the time, not the pace.
Yeah, that's the time. Yeah, an hour 29.
I was like, if we're gonna go down that route, 129 is not a slow.
No. I mean, for me, that'd be pretty fast. So in France, I showed up about 5 days before the race just to get acclimated. I mean, it was 9 hours ahead, so trying to get used to switching your schedule around by half a day pretty much was a pain. But every day I was getting in the water or running or riding around a little bit, and I was wearing my wetsuit every time I go out and swim. Well, the morning of the race, they measured the water temp. It was like 0.2 degrees over, no wetsuit. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see how this goes. But thankfully, the sea over there is super salty, so you're super buoyant. Yeah. Ended up swimming at 117. So to me, I was like, oh, cool. That's perfect. I did better. I improved.
Right.
And we were actually swimming through like groups of jellyfish out there.
Maryland style.
Yeah, it was where I didn't end up seeing any, but a bunch of guys out there were saying, yeah, there were a bunch of jellyfish like below us. And they even said to watch out for them while we were out there. Yeah.
No, thank you.
So going into the bike, it felt solid. I was passing a bunch of people going uphill. I lost the chain going with the first hill, downshifting. Jumped off real quick, threw it back on. Took off and just kept climbing as strong as I could. Weather was warm. It was like mid 80s, but over there it felt a lot different than here. It just felt like this. Humid or? No, it just felt like this dry, just like the sun was beating down on you. So the ride, I mean, I felt great until about the end, and I was trying to stay up on all my nutrition, drinking everything I could through the stations. And towards the end, I had like this really weird feeling in my lungs. Like if I took a deep breath in, I had this gag reflex. I was thinking, oh, this isn't good going into the run. So I get off the bike, kind of take a little extra time through transition just to kind of prep myself and take off running, holding a 650 pace for about the first 7 miles. And then it just hit me. My body told me, nope, like you need to go into I jumped into a porta potty, had my finger down my throat trying to throw up because I felt so sick. Started cramping up, which I never do.
See, when I throw up like that on an Ironman, that's like end game because I cramp right here.
Oh, yeah.
When you do this,
Yeah.
it literally went for Worlds in St. George.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that ended me for like 7 miles after because I did the same thing, caused myself to throw up. This lady had a cup of salt. She was like, "Here," I'm like, "Why do you have a cup of salt?" Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, so I couldn't throw up, so I said, all right, let's go. Like, I just got to try to finish this thing. I got 19 miles left. So I jumped out and took off running, and my pace went down to like an 8:30 to 9-minute pace. I started walking through all the aid stations just to try to get in whatever I could because my body just did not want anything to do with it. And it was rough. I was watching people get carried off in stretchers on the run. The ambulance was constantly running up and down the street. There was a helicopter that came in to pick somebody up. So
is this I'm not as informed as Sean. Is this like a more notoriously difficult course than like a typical
That's
course?
one of the most difficult.
I think they said it was
the
toughest, one of the tough, yeah.
In an Ironman.
The toughest or one of the tough.
So you were like in the zone, feeling pretty good,
yeah,
and maybe didn't realize the impact on your body through the bike, and then you hit the run thinking like this is like just like my last Ironman, and your body's basically reality checking.
Yeah,
like,
my body said
no, it's not.
It'd be like riding from here to Shaver plus like 1,000 feet and back, then running a marathon.
That's
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's intense.
So yeah, I just kept pushing, and that was probably the most weird I've ever felt on a run. Just the way my mind was.
So something was
off, and I got to a point where I was just moving, and I kept thinking to myself, I'm either going to cross this finish line or I'm going to wake up on the ground because I feel like I'm going to black out. I just kept moving, and finally I got right before the finish line, and my hamstrings cramped up twice. I'm like, cool, the finish line's right there, I can see it, and my legs lock up. I'm like, oh my gosh. So
I'm right here.
Yeah, I'm standing there trying to stretch them out, and there's like lines of people along the side of us cheering us on and everything. And
Keep going.
Like, you all right? I'm like, I'm cramping up over here.
Nothing would be more frustrating too, like than right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 100 yards away before you hit the mat and start running. Once I hit that mat, though, it was just magical. There's some little kid, I remember, he put his hand out to high-five me and ran over, high-fived him, and ran through. And just, I don't know if you guys ever feel this, but when your body goes through that much struggle, like especially with me, I feel like all these emotions just build up, and then right when you cross, like
while you do it,
it's that release.
Yeah.
Where like I was super emotional. They took me over to a little athlete village after you finish. I remember laying down, and I picked up my phone. I looked at all these messages from my family, and I put my shades on. And I had tears just running down the side of my face.
Every single Ironman I've done, you get the phone, and there's just tons. You don't even know half the people.
Yeah.
Like Mike from the bike shop. Like, how do you even know I'm doing that? It's like, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was such an incredible moment.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, but then from there, I left and met up with my fiance and laid down, and
she's like, are you okay?
Yeah, I was laying there for about 30 minutes, and she's like, okay, let's get up and go. And every time I tried to sit up, both my legs locked up. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. I don't know what to do.
Probably not for a little bit.
Yeah, so we need to stay here a little bit longer.
Did they have some good food afterwards, or was it?
I honestly didn't even eat anything in the village. I think I grabbed a free beer and had 2 sips of it and just tossed the rest. And I was my stomach just
Athletic Brewing Company?
No, it was actually real beer.
I didn't know they were allowed to have real beer there with Athletic Brewing Company.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's funny.
I think they did have an Athletic Brewing booth in the Ironman village.
Sure they did.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That stuff's good.
I've had it. It is good. Yeah, they're a big sponsor of. They're like one of the main sponsors of Ironman.
Yeah.
All non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. you went from, I mean, I guess you went from a very flat course in Woodlands.
Yeah.
One of the flattest probably. To, I mean, you made it to the Worlds on your first race, and then maybe the Worlds was a little bit of a reality check in terms of like some of these other courses in terms of how difficult they are.
Yeah, I was prepping a lot on the bike before the race, riding up the hills. Lundy and I were riding a bunch together, putting in long 100-mile days, going up 4 lanes, toll house, stuff like that. Yeah. So I wasn't, and with my bike, I was riding 1x12 the whole time we were training. So before the race, I switched to 2x12, so I had that extra gearing, which helped tremendously. So I felt like my power was great going up the hills for me personally. And like I said, I didn't really start to feel like I was kind of crumbling till the end of the bike. At the end of that bike ride, you are flying downhill, like hairpin turns.
I've seen those videos.
Flying. So you're on your brakes most of the time.
Sometimes there weren't more like crashes and stuff.
I didn't see anybody
That's
crash.
shocking.
Yeah. I was surprised because it was sketchy. And I mean, you end up flying through these towns in the middle of nowhere on the side of the mountains, and there's all these big road bumps that are like 1.5 feet high that you're nailing, just jamming, trying to like grab your brakes before you hit them.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just so beautiful though. I mean, we ended up going up through the mountains, and then you're along this cliffside going through these rock tunnels, and there's like a 2,000-foot drop right off the side. And then you end up going through this green valley and back out and then down through all these towns.
That sounds awesome.
Incredible.
So what would you say, what was your takeaway finishing the Worlds, and like what's next? Like what are you working on next?
So my takeaway from it, I mean, like I said, it was just such an incredible experience. I was super blessed to be a part of it.
Didn't go the way exactly you wanted. But
no, I mean, I really wanted between a 10 and 11 hour time. I finished at 11:44, and I wanted to get that sub 3. But after I finished, I realized that was reaching. Like that was that was a huge goal. But now the next event I'm doing a couple small events. I got the Pincushion Goat Run in about a week.
Yeah,
I'm going out to Moab 240 to pace a buddy of mine in October.
Like you're not doing the 240. Okay.
Next year, I think I'm going to do it.
Wait, is the Pincushion Goat Run? Is that it's just the 1 mile?
Yeah, for 4 hours, as many times as you can do it.
I really like the San Joaquin series. That's a fun race series.
I agree.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Then after Moab, I've got a few weeks until.
What is it in Moab that you're pacing?
The Moab 240.
What's the
240 miles in the middle of flipping nowhere in the heat. It's
Moab.
like beyond psychotic. It's just.
Oh, it's incredible.
Go look it up and won't look at the video.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Wait, so 240 by yourself?
You have a crew.
Yeah, and you can have pacers.
It's a 240
So he does 240 miles over how many days?
It'll take him about 90-ish hours. So my buddy Elliot, he did the Triple Crown of 200s last year through Destination Trail Races. So you have Tahoe 200, you have the Bigfoot. I believe Bigfoot's 230, somewhere around there, and then Moab 240. He did all 3 of them last year. So I paced him in Tahoe, paced him in Moab. Moab, it was beautiful. I was out there with him for about 77 miles or so.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Not very far.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's you leave the desert floor and you go up in the mountains. I mean, it's cold. It's freezing cold up there.
I've been to Moab a lot. Moab's a pretty place. But yeah, it can get very cold.
Yeah.
Very windy too, depending where you are.
Yeah, we had a little bit of wind, but nothing too crazy.
Wow. And then what? So Moab, and then
I have World's Toughest Mudder in Dallas in November. So my goal this year is 105 miles. I want to break the 100.
And it's in Dallas, you said?
Yeah, it's at I think it's called Broken Skull Ranch or something like that. It's Skull Ranch. Yeah, I'd have to look it up again.
You like take a break at all, or?
Yeah, I'll have a little break after that for probably 2 months.
How does it work? I mean, with your coach, are you basically just saying like with the next event? I mean, these sound like, I don't know, a couple months apart each, or what? Like you just, I mean, the mountain one, that's 1 mile up a mountain. I'm sure you're fine for that. But like, I don't know. These are they're very different. Like you don't. Some people seem to settle in a niche.
They are, but they're not. I mean, Martin's a great example. I coach him easily right into the 100K. It's all this cross training translates. You just add a couple things.
You just let your coach know the next event, and it's like, okay, here's what the training looks like for the next couple months, kind of a deal.
Yeah. So we were on a phone call yesterday, and I mean, she's, like I said, she's been coaching me for 2 years, so she's been used to how I am. I'm always jumping around. So I basically told her, I said, look, I want to focus strictly on running, get back into CrossFit style workouts, and maybe do a couple of long bike rides, and maybe swim once a week. Because usually she'll have me still swim 2-3 days a week, bike 3 days a week.
Recovery.
Yeah, but I said, I really want to just focus on my running for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Putting in some high mileage. So she said, all right, cool. I'll upload it to Training Peaks.
So,
awesome.
What was the biggest struggle leading up to, and it can be anything. It doesn't even have to be the build for this, the qualifying in Texas, whatever it was. What was, one or two of the biggest struggles, challenges, downtimes, I don't know, injuries. Did you have any? What were anything?
Just leading up to the Ironman?
Anything in the last, 5-6 years?
So thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't had any injuries. Just some small stuff here and there, but nothing major.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah, enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, exactly.
I got really
Do your mobility.
Yeah.
Do your
mobility,
strength training.
ice baths, sauna.
I'm more consistent now.
Yeah.
Than I don't rely on your youth for, it'll kind of bite you.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah, no, exactly. Struggles, gosh. I don't know. It's hard to say. I haven't had anything too major. I mean, yeah, you hit those moments, like through my Ironman blocks. I had a couple moments where I had to reach out to my coach and say, hey, like, I'm super depressed and low right now. I'm hitting this middle point where I'm training so much, work's so busy that I'm not happy. Like every day I wake up, I'm like, oh, this is a full-time, like training is a full-time job now. Plus with my other work, it's just...
When does it stop?
Yeah. So I always hit a point like that, I think, in the middle of a big training block, just where you're kind of overtrained. You might not be eating enough, something like that. But yeah, I mean, throughout the years, I'd say that's kind of the only thing I've gone through. I'll take it back all the way to the beginning. The reason why I started Tough Mudder, before I did my first event in Tahoe, one of my best friends passed away, and we had talked about doing a Tough Mudder together. He passes away, and then shortly after that, a cousin of mine reached out to me and said, hey, we're going to do this Tough Mudder event in Tahoe. You want to go? And I said, yeah, of course. Like I was, my buddy that just passed, him and I were talking about doing one. So yeah, let's do this. And then from there, here we are 10 years later.
Got hooked.
Yeah. Hooked through all these events. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like hurting just listening to some of the events that you do.
I'm okay. I need to figure out a way back in.
Yeah, I don't know. I like I think for me at this point, I'm like you, I think, in that, in the sense that you prefer the run. Like something about the run for me is I don't know. I feel like I've got a score to settle.
Yeah.
With the run.
Yeah.
And then if I can reach my goals on that, then Sean might suck me back into triathlon. My complaint is, I think I caught the same from you. I hate the swim. I really do. It's like as soon as I hit the water, I'm just like, when do I get out?
Yeah.
Like, and how, I don't even, the times aren't even really much of a consideration to me. I just consider it a win if I get in and get out. Like,
yeah.
That's just like, and so let that speak to my ability to tolerate all the other things that the mud and, all the other pain that you put yourself through on these 100-mile runs. But I guess for me, like, I'm trying to figure you out. Like, is it like, are you kind of finding the next big thing that you think? I mean, some of them are repeat events, obviously, which okay, but it almost seems like there's a part of you that's seeking out events that. Are you trying to just push the pain a little bit, or like push the envelope of
not
like,
feeling enough yet.
like I can, okay, I can do this one, I think, and then you just kind of go for it. Is that sort of? I mean, is that about right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, what I've learned over the years is there's a capacity, I'd call it the mental capacity, that you can stretch farther than you think you can. When I did my first World's Toughest Mudder, like I was saying earlier, I did 50 miles, and I thought that was my limit. Like, wow, 50 miles, like I can't do any more than this. Fast forward to 2021, I do 100, and I say, what's next? And now this year, last year I tried to break that. I fell short by 5 miles. This year I want to break that. And I know mentally I've been there. I've been in that pain cave. I've been at that distance. I've experienced brutal weather, brutal conditions, brutal obstacles, brutal time on course, just like some deep stuff. So I know mentally I can get there and push a little more. And the further you start to push and push and push, the more your body can handle and the more you can handle mentally. Because with any 100-miler or even longer distances, half of that's physical, the other half's mental. So it's just how far you can take yourself. Sure. Like on Ironman Worlds, the run, I knew halfway through that, like I said, I was either going to hit the pavement and black out or finish it. And I knew mentally I could push myself through it. did I really feel like my body was going to make it? No, but I knew mentally I could do it because I've been there before. Sure. I knew I could cross that finish line. No, so I think I've always been searching for that, just that little extra edge, a little further distance. Like Jake was talking about earlier, the Drift 101. So that's a whole nother like type of endurance event. My buddy does some of these winter sled pulls, and he said, hey, you should go do this. So about 4 months before this event, or 5, maybe I think it was 5 months, I sign up.
Did you say to the coach, hey, I have an idea? Yeah. She's probably like, what the freak are you talking about?
Yeah. So I register for it. It's in this mountain range in Wyoming, in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my God.
101 miles, 10,000 feet of elevation gain. Starting temp was about negative 18 degrees. I'd never been in that cold of weather in my life. So prepping for this event, I bought all this stupid expensive winter gear. I bought a sled. I built what they call a ski polk. Built everything myself. Flew out with this big old sled through the airport. You know, I'd walk in with the sled and with my bag on it, and people were looking at me like, what are you doing? What is that? So I get out there, and I went by myself. I didn't take anybody with me. I show up, and I got out of the car to get all my stuff out right before the race started. I got back in because it was so cold, and I was like, I need to warm up a little bit before we start. Like, this is ridiculous. So we take off.
And that was wearing the gear?
Yeah.
Like when you got out, and it was still like, this is ridiculous?
Yeah. Well, once we took off, I warmed up, but that event was unfreaking real. I remember that first night, I was up at the peak, that first big mountain. I think it was a little over 10,000 feet. And I was out there by myself. I'm just staring at the snow. It's snowing sideways. All of a sudden, a snowmobile comes up to the left side of me, and one of the volunteers, they had a bunch of guys on snowmobiles running around. He's like, hey, you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm good. He's like, all right, later. I didn't see anybody after that for probably 6 or 7 hours. And you're just following markers. We all had trackers with us. And halfway through the race, my tracker died. And you have no phone signal out there, nothing. So my family back home was literally calling the race director.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So my fiance and my friends are literally calling the race director, saying, "Where's Christian? Like, it shows he's way back here, and it's been like 24 hours. Where is he?" So they knew where I was, because they had, like I said, guys running around.
How many people did this?
So there were, I think, 50, but that year I did it, so many people dropped out because the snow conditions were so bad. Like some of the elite, like people that do this type of stuff, dropped out in the beginning. And I think only like 14 of us finished. So they had a 48-hour time cutoff.
And how far was it?
101 miles.
101 miles.
So I ended up...
Did you sleep?
No, I didn't sleep at all the whole time.
For 2 days?
So for over 60 hours.
Oh my God.
So from the time I woke up to the time, I went over time. So I ended up with a group of guys at the end. Everyone's hallucinating. Everyone's tripping out. We're all like, I'm looking down at the ground. I thought I was walking through waves in the water. I ended up, there was one point the last day in the morning, it was like 2 or 3 a.m. I was with a guy, starts snowing on us. I said, hey, and he's hallucinating like crazy. So I said, pull out your sleeping bag and we had these little like individual tents.
Yeah.
So we jump in them. I couldn't sleep at all. And I set my alarm for like an hour or so. So I'm laying in there. I get out. It snowed about 4 inches on top of us. So I get him up and I said, hey, let's go. We need to finish this thing. We're like 10 miles out. He ends up kind of staying back, and I said, hey, I'm going to go finish this thing. I know we're over time, but I'm right here. So a snowmobile comes by, and the volunteer, I asked him, I said, hey, I know I'm over time. Like, do you guys need to take me back? Am I DQ'd? What's the case? He said, no, the race director said you guys are good. As long as you finish today, you'll get your 100-mile buckle. You're good to go. He said so many people dropped out that we're going to extend the time because nobody's finished. So I ended up finishing, I think, in 54 hours. And I remember walking into this little cottage, and there's all these people sitting in there. Someone like buys me a drink, and I order some steak, and I'm sitting there having a full-on conversation with people like after I'd been awake for 60 hours. I'm just sitting there like talking with everybody.
1 of 14.
It was somewhere in the teens. So they do on foot and on ski and on bike, on fat tire bike. But people on fat tire bikes were struggling because, like I said, the snow conditions were so rough, and you're going up these steep mountains. So a lot of guys were off their bike,
walking the bike.
Like, oh, that's gotta suck.
So
I'll pass on that.
So
you gotta do it.
Throwing up. Which would you choose? Throwing up legs broken in France, with 20 miles to go, or I guess 15 or so miles to go, whatever, or the middle of Wyoming, hallucinating, and you got 10 miles left.
But that first one's a heck of a lot easier. I'll tell you that.
And the Ironman not seem so bad anymore.
I mean, you can definitely sleep out there, but I mean, I laid down a few times and tried to close my eyes and sleep, but you start to freeze right away. I mean, no matter how much gear you have on, like you're triple layered, just with everything. You got gloves that are rated to -60 or whatever. And yeah, I couldn't sleep. It was weird.
I don't even. You're programmed different. I feel like not even just mentally. I'm trying to think of myself preparing like with all the gear and something like that. I don't see myself doing a very good job in that kind of environment. That's impressive.
So
where's the belt buckle? You hang that one up?
Yeah, I got it on my wall. Yeah.
Wait, no injuries.
Did the friend that told you about it do it with you?
No, so he's done a couple of them. He was actually registered to do the ITI 350 last year. I did around 350 on foot in Alaska, and actually that was this year. Sorry. We did a race over New Year's coming into this year in Tuscobia, another sled pull race. It was 160 miles. It was pretty much flat, but him and we did that one together. We tapped out halfway through. There was a turnaround point. He had a bunch of foot issues, and I wore the wrong shoes for that race.
So you only made it 80 miles?
Yeah, that was the first race that I've ever DNF'd. But he was doing that in prep for the ITI, and then after that he said, I can't do it. He was just kind of babying an injury.
I mean, at that distance, injuries are exacerbated a lot when you're doing anything at that level.
Yeah.
You're lucky you have not had any injuries. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Go a little extra, he says. I think your little extra is a lot extra to me. But I'm impressed.
But a good example of pushing the mental capacity, as you said.
Yeah.
I think that goes to show that that's what you're in for, and that's what you want to do, and it makes you happy, and that's what you're driven to do. And obviously you have a purpose in doing that, and that's the sole reason behind it, is like, this is what I do, and I find enjoyment, and I'm passionate about it, and that's all. Quite frankly, that's all you need.
Yeah. It's been a huge passion of mine for the past 10 years, and
clearly
I've when I was younger, people used to tell me that, oh, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? Like, why are you wasting your time doing that? Or why are you taking off work for the weekend to go and do that? Well, in the beginning, it was all fun to me, and then it became life. To me, it's my life.
Because I want to.
Yeah. Because it's built me into the person I am today.
Yeah.
And I've told people before too, it's like in business, right? I know in business today, if I had never done all these things, I could probably be in a higher spot in business, right? But I wouldn't be who I am today if I had never done all these things.
Maybe not. I mean, I don't know. You hit a hard deal, you hit a snag, and maybe 100 miles through the snow makes you realize this isn't that hard after all, and I can figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's resilience that's needed in business too.
Exactly.
So I'm sure it'll pay dividends for you if it hasn't already. I'm serious. I mean,
I agree. Completely. I mean, that's the whole point.
We're trying to do some things ourselves right now that are. I mean, it's taken 17 months, 18 months just to get certain licenses in order, because the state of California requires so many I's dotted and T's crossed before you can even apply for the license and what we do. And it is an endurance race in its own way, And so, I mean, while it may have held you back, I can see what you're saying, where like, certain opportunities or maybe the time you put in, into work, maybe it puts you back in that way for now. But long term, in terms of your grit and your willingness to work and, stick things out and, probably problem solve, and I'm sure I'm sure it'll put you up for success.
I agree.
I'm confident
Yeah.
if it's not already
I
doing
totally
that.
agree with that. I mean,
Yeah, I'd rather
add
have
to that.
I'd rather have the memories, throughout life doing
Absolutely.
these things, these physical endeavors. And
I mean, I know if it's me choosing my team in business, and I've got a guy that's done, I don't know, 100-mile Klondike like you, and or someone that's willing to sit there and have a drink with me and schmooze. If it's an informed business guy, it's an easy decision.
yeah.
So anyway,
There you go.
yeah.
Cool.
Wow. Well, these are some new stories.
Yep.
I'm glad.
Push
I'm,
the envelope.
Yeah. Push
a
push
little more than I thought was.
push the envelopes. Yeah. I think that's.
Yeah,
That's
you,
right.
You can push so far. It's
Now when I'm running in the two cities, and it's funny. This is what
I am a wuss.
This is what I'm saying about this is what I'm saying about the comparing. And I'll wake up sometimes and I'm like, and I've lived in Colorado. I've been in cold places, Utah, but I still wake up sometimes those Fresno mornings and it's like 40 or high 30s, and I'm like, oh, it's cold. And
cold is cold.
And then I'm just like, yeah, okay. And now And now I'm gonna have to picture snow around my legs when I hit mile 20. And now that I've talked to you, I'll have to picture, okay, if he can make it through, I'm sure I can buckle down and get it done. It's good to hear these stories. I know I need it for me too.
Yeah.
Not be, like Sean said, not be such a wuss.
No, it's you just gotta dive deep in your mind when you're in that hard spot.
Dig
and
deep.
just
All
dig
alone.
deep.
All alone.
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly.
Well, thanks for the stories, man.
We'll try to join you on some bike rides in the
Yeah.
future once we're up and running.
If I can
sure.
keep up.
I'm getting there.
You can keep up.
Well, thanks for the time today.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you
Christian.
guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.